Jack Winters looked out the small window of Research Outpost Helios 9, watching the swirling dust storms on the planet's surface. He was 32 years old, with unruly brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. After 5 years as the outpost's lead xenobiologist, he knew the barren landscape well. Another exciting day in paradise, he muttered to himself, turning back to his lab. The outpost housed 15 scientists and 10 security personnel. Most of the scientists avoided Jack. His habit of questioning established protocols and procedures made them uncomfortable. But Jack believed science required curiosity above all else. Dr. Lisa Goodwin entered the lab, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "You missed the morning briefing again." "Was I missed?" Jack asked with a half-smile. Commander Peters noticed. "He's not happy." Jack shrugged. "Peters is never happy." Lisa sighed. "The commander is just doing his job. Security is important out here. We're scientists, Lisa, not soldiers. We're supposed to discover, not hide." Before she could respond, the outpost alarm sounded. A red light pulsed overhead. "Perimeter breach, Sector 7, announced the computerized voice. Jack grabbed his field kit. Sector 7 was near the caves he'd been studying. "Jack, wait for security." Lisa called after him, but he was already heading for the airlock. Outside, the winds had died down enough to see clearly. Jack adjusted his breathing mask and moved quickly toward Sector 7. The landscape was rocky and sparse, with purple-tinged vegetation growing in small clusters. His scanner picked up life signs ahead. Then he saw it. Lying on its side behind a large boulder was one of the most feared creatures in the galaxy, a Nyx huntress. Nearly 9 feet long, with midnight black scales and powerful limbs, the predator was instantly recognizable. 6 razor-sharp claws extended from each paw. Its head featured distinctive bone ridges and 4 amber eyes. Jack froze. Nyx huntresses were responsible for more deaths than any other predatory species. They were intelligent, vicious, and had never been successfully captured alive. This one was injured. A deep gash ran along its side, leaking dark blue blood. Protocol was clear: report and eliminate. Nyx huntresses were classified as maximum threat level. No exceptions. Yet as Jack watched, the creature's eyes focused on him. It made no move to attack. Instead, it emitted a low, rumbling sound that seemed almost pained. Jack's communicator crackled. "Winters, what's your location?" Commander Peters demanded. Jack hesitated, then switched off the device. He approached slowly, medical scanner in hand. The huntress growled but remained still. The scanner showed severe blood loss and internal damage. Without treatment, the creature would die within hours. Jack made his decision. Using his hover sled, he carefully transported the massive predator back to the outpost's rear entrance, avoiding security cameras. He accessed his private lab through the maintenance corridor. The huntress remained eerily calm during the journey, as if understanding his intent. Once inside, Jack sealed the lab and began treating the wound. The creature watched him work, its amber eyes never leaving his face. "You know I'm helping you, don't you?" Jack whispered. The lab door slid open, and Lisa gasped. "Jack, what have you done?" "I'm saving her life," he replied calmly. "That's a Nyx huntress. Do you know what those things do to people?" "I know what we're told they do," Jack said. "But look at her, Lisa. She hasn't tried to kill me. She's intelligent." Lisa backed toward the door. "I should report this." "Before you do," Jack said, "ask yourself something. In 300 years of space exploration, has anyone ever tried to understand these creatures instead of killing them?" Lisa's hand hovered over the alarm button. "Give me 3 days," Jack pleaded. "If I'm wrong, I'll accept the consequences." The huntress made a soft clicking sound, almost like communication. Lisa looked between Jack and the predator, conflict clear on her face. 3 days, she finally said. "Then we tell Peters." Jack nodded, turning back to the injured creature. "I think I'll call you Saber," he told the huntress. For the first time in recorded history, a human and the galaxy's most lethal predator shared the same space, not as enemies, but as something entirely new. Jack watched in fascination as Saber explored the sealed lab. 3 days had passed since he'd brought the injured Nyx huntress into the research facility. Her recovery was remarkable. The deep wound along her side had already formed a protective scab. "Her cell regeneration rate is unlike anything I've documented," Jack explained to Lisa, who stood nervously by the door. "Commander Peters knows something's up," Lisa warned. "He's asking questions about why your lab has been locked for 3 days. Jack nodded but kept his attention on Saber. The massive predator moved with surprising grace, examining equipment with careful sniffs and gentle prods of her claws. "Look at that," Jack whispered. "She's curious, not destructive." Saber approached a sealed container of lab specimens. Using one claw, she tapped the transparent material, then looked at Jack. "I think she wants to know what's inside," he said. Lisa frowned. "You're projecting human traits onto a predator." "Maybe. Or maybe we've been wrong about them all along." Jack approached Saber slowly and opened the container. Inside were biological samples from various native species. Saber carefully extended one claw and pointed to a specific sample, a flowering plant with bright blue petals. "That's silverleaf," Jack said. "It grows near the cave systems to the east." Saber made a series of clicking sounds, then traced a pattern on the lab floor with her claw. "What is she doing?" Lisa asked, stepping closer despite her fear. Jack studied the pattern. "It looks like a map." "Lisa, I think she's showing us where these plants grow." "That's impossible. The official reports say Nyx huntresses operate on instinct, not intelligence." Jack grabbed a tablet and pulled up a topographical map of the region. He placed it in front of Saber. The huntress studied it, then precisely touched a location with her claw. "That's exactly where we found silverleaf colonies last month," Jack said excitedly. Lisa stared in disbelief. "This changes everything." Over the next week, Jack developed a simple communication system with Saber. Pictures for places, simple sounds for actions. The breakthrough came when Jack showed Saber an image of another Nyx huntress. Saber's reaction was immediate, a series of rapid clicks and movements that Jack recorded and studied. "She's trying to tell me something about her kind," Jack told Lisa one morning. "I think she was separated from her pack during that military exercise last month." "You think they have social structures, family units?" "Everything I'm seeing suggests they're highly intelligent, social creatures, not the mindless killers described in the reports." The lab door slid open suddenly. Commander Alan Peters stood there, his face hard with anger. "What exactly is going on here, Winters?" Jack moved protectively toward Saber, but to everyone's surprise, the huntress stayed calm. She studied Peters with intelligent eyes. "I can explain, Commander," Jack began. "You've violated at least 15 protocols." Peters interrupted. "The Galactic Science Authority has been notified. They're sending specialist William Grant to assess the situation." Lisa stepped forward. "Commander, you need to see this." She showed Peters the recordings of Saber's map reading and communication attempts. The security officer's stern expression faltered as he watched. "Everything we've been told about these creatures might be wrong," Jack said. "They're not just killers. They're intelligent. They have culture." Saber moved slowly toward Peters, who instinctively reached for his weapon. Jack held his breath. Instead of attacking, Saber extended a claw and carefully drew another pattern on the floor. "What is that?" Peters asked despite himself. Jack studied the pattern. "I think it's a warning. Look, this shape appears in all our satellite images of areas where human-Nyx conflicts occurred. You're saying they've been defending territory. I'm saying there's more to this story than we've been told." Peters looked at the huntress with new eyes. "Grant arrives tomorrow. You'd better have solid evidence. The GSA wants this creature destroyed. After Peters left, Jack turned to Saber. I won't let that happen, he promised quietly. Saber's amber eyes held his gaze, and Jack felt a strange certainty that she understood perfectly. Jack stood nervously as Specialist William Grant examined his research data. Grant was tall and thin with cold gray eyes and a permanently disapproving expression. He'd arrived that morning on a small military shuttle, accompanied by 2 armed guards. Fascinating work, Dr. Winters, Grant said, scrolling through Jack's notes. Though highly irregular. The data speaks for itself, Jack replied. Saber has demonstrated problem-solving abilities far beyond instinctive behavior. Saber watched from her corner of the lab, eerily still. Though her wounds had healed completely, Jack had kept her in the lab to protect her from those who might harm her. May I see a demonstration? Grant asked. Jack nodded and set up a simple puzzle box containing meat. He placed it before Saber. The box required 3 different latches to be opened in a specific sequence. Saber studied the box, then methodically opened each latch. She did this faster than she had the first time Jack had shown her the puzzle. She's learning, Lisa commented from nearby. Each time we present the puzzle, she solves it more efficiently. Grant's expression remained neutral. Could be conditioned response. Then explain this, Jack said, presenting Saber with a new puzzle she had never seen before. The huntress examined it carefully, tried one approach that failed, then immediately adjusted her strategy. Within minutes, she had solved it. Grant made notes without commenting. Jack noticed he seemed more interested in Saber herself than in her intelligence demonstrations. I'd like to see her interact with the environment outside, Grant finally said. Under controlled conditions, of course. Commander Peters, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. That's against containment protocols. I have authority to overrule protocols for assessment purposes, Grant replied smoothly. Jack didn't trust Grant's sudden interest, but he agreed. This might be his chance to prove Saber's true nature. Later that afternoon, they stood in a fenced section of land near the outpost. Saber moved cautiously into the open space, her powerful muscles rippling under black scales. What exactly are we looking for? Lisa asked Grant. Natural behaviors, he replied vaguely. Saber raised her head suddenly, attention fixed on something in the distance. Beyond the fence line, something moved in the tall purple vegetation. Another Nyx, Jack whispered, pointing to the shape moving parallel to the fence. Peters immediately raised his weapon, but Jack put a hand on his arm. Wait. Watch. Saber approached the fence. The other huntress emerged partially from cover. They began exchanging a series of clicks and low rumbles. They're communicating, Jack said excitedly. This confirms they have language. Grant watched intently, then spoke quietly into his wrist communicator. Suddenly, alarms blared across the compound. Security breach in sectors 3 and 4, announced the automated system. What's happening? Jack demanded. Peters' communicator crackled. Sir, multiple contacts approaching the perimeter. They look like more huntresses. As Peters and one guard rushed to respond, Jack noticed Grant smiling slightly. You planned this, Jack accused. You wanted to draw more of them here. The galactic military has been tracking Nyx movements for months, Grant admitted. We needed to confirm this was a pact territory. Jack looked at Saber, who was still communicating with the other huntress. Understanding flashed through his mind. They're looking for her. Her family is trying to find her. The second guard suddenly grabbed Jack, restraining him. Specialist Grant has orders to secure the specimen and gather intelligence on Nyx locations. They're sentient beings, Jack shouted, struggling. Lisa stepped back, horrified. You're using us as bait for a hunting expedition. Grant shrugged. The Nyx have killed thousands of colonists. The military has decided on a permanent solution to the threat. Extermination, Jack said, the word bitter in his mouth. Saber turned from the fence, sensing the tension. Her amber eyes locked with Jack's. In that moment, the perimeter fence sparked and failed, damaged by something on the outside. The second huntress leaped through the gap, followed by two more. Containment breach. Grant shouted into his communicator, drawing his weapon. But instead of attacking, the newly arrived huntresses surrounded Saber protectively. One of them approached Jack, who stood very still as the guard holding him fled. "Jack, run," Lisa cried. But Jack remained where he was as the massive predator stopped directly in front of him. It studied him carefully, then made the same clicking sound Saber often used when greeting him. "They know," Jack said softly. Saber told them I held her. Chaos erupted across the outpost as security alarms blared. Commander Peters and his team rushed to defend against what they believed was a Nyx attack. Meanwhile, in the fenced area, Jack found himself surrounded by four massive huntresses, including Saber. "They're not attacking," Jack called out to Lisa, who stood frozen several yards away. "Look at their behavior. It's coordinated, but not aggressive." Grant had disappeared in the confusion, leaving Jack alone with the creatures. The largest huntress, with distinctive silver markings along her bone ridges, positioned herself between Jack and the outpost. "I think that's their leader," Jack said quietly. "Maybe some kind of pack alpha." Saber approached Jack and made a series of clicks and low rumbles. Then she turned to the alpha and produced similar sounds. "She's telling them about me," Jack realized. "She's explaining who I am." The alpha studied Jack intently, then lowered her massive head to eye level with him. Jack stood perfectly still, heart racing but determined not to show fear. After a long moment, the alpha made a decision. She backed away and gestured with her head toward the broken fence and the wilderness beyond. "Jack," Lisa called out, "I think they want you to go with them." "I believe you're right," he replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. A security drone buzzed overhead, and the huntresses tensed. Jack knew Peters would soon arrive with armed personnel. "I have to go with them," Jack told Lisa. "Tell Peters not to follow. Tell him what you've seen. They're intelligent, and they're not attacking us." Lisa nodded. "Be careful, Jack." Jack turned to Saber. "I'm ready." The group moved swiftly through the broken fence and into the dense purple vegetation beyond. Jack struggled to keep pace with the huntresses, who moved gracefully despite their size. Saber stayed close to him, occasionally slowing when he fell behind. They traveled for hours, moving deeper into territory no human had properly explored. The landscape changed from rocky plains to lush valleys with strange, towering plants. Jack activated the tracker in his wrist device, knowing it would only work for a short distance from the outpost. Finally, they arrived at a series of caves set into a massive cliff face. The openings were partially concealed by hanging vegetation and easily missed by aerial surveys. The alpha led them into the largest cave. As Jack's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he gasped. The cave opened into a vast chamber filled with Nyx huntresses of various sizes. Some appeared to be juveniles, playing together in complex games that involved problem-solving. Others were crafting what looked like tools from bone and stone. "A complete society," Jack whispered in awe. Saber guided him to a wall covered in markings, patterns similar to those she had drawn in his lab. "Is this writing?" Jack asked, studying the symbols. The alpha approached and pressed her claw to a series of marks. Light suddenly filled the chamber from strange, bioluminescent growths on the ceiling that someone had activated. In the improved light, Jack could see the full extent of the Nyx settlement. Dozens of huntresses lived here, with distinct areas for sleeping, eating, and what appeared to be communal activities. One section contained carefully arranged plants, the same silver-leaf specimens Jack had shown Saber in the lab. A huntress was applying the crushed leaves to another's injured leg. "They're using them as medicine," Jack realized, "just like we do." Saber led Jack deeper into the settlement. They passed a chamber where several huntresses worked with colored minerals, creating detailed images on stone surfaces. The artistry was undeniable. Everything we believed about your species was wrong, Jack told Saber. The Alpha returned with what appeared to be a crude map formed from clay. She pointed to a location and then to Jack. I think she's showing me human settlements, Jack said. Saber made an urgent sound and traced a pattern Jack now recognized. The warning symbol. Understanding dawned on him. The military bases. You've been defending your territory from our encroachment. The Alpha nodded, her amber eyes reflecting intelligence and concern. Jack sat down heavily on a stone seat, overwhelmed by the implications. The coming conflict isn't just about Saber anymore, he said. It's about preventing a war based on misunderstanding. Outside, the sun was setting on a day that had changed everything Jack thought he knew about the galaxy's most feared predators. Jack spent 3 days with the Nyx, learning their ways and teaching them about humans. Saber stayed constantly at his side, helping translate his words into the clicking language of her people. The Alpha, whom Jack now called Silvertip because of her markings, showed him their history through cave paintings and clay models. Your people have lived here for centuries, Jack said, examining ancient drawings that showed Nyx hunting, raising young, and creating tools. Silvertip led him to a newer section of paintings that showed the arrival of human ships. The images depicted aggressive encounters, with human weapons firing first. We never knew, Jack said sadly. Our records claim your kind attacked without provocation. A young huntress rushed into the chamber, making urgent clicking sounds. Silvertip tensed and responded with sharp commands. The Nyx began moving quickly, gathering their young and essential items. What's happening? Jack asked Saber. She led him to the cave entrance. In the distance, Jack saw lights descending from the sky. Military dropships. They followed my tracker, Jack realized with horror. I should have destroyed it. Silvertip made a decision. She pointed Jack toward a small side tunnel, then gestured for him to follow. Saber went with them as they moved through a narrow passage that eventually opened onto a hidden ledge overlooking the valley. From this vantage point, Jack could see 6 military vessels landing. Soldiers poured out, armed with heavy weapons. At their center walked Specialist Grant and a tall man with commander insignia. Admiral Frank Morrison, Jack whispered, recognizing the infamous military leader known for his harsh stance on alien threats. Silvertip watched with calculating eyes as the troops began moving toward the cave system. Other Nyx had already escaped through hidden exits, but some remained inside. Jack's communicator suddenly activated. Dr. Winters, came Grant's voice. We know you're out there. Return to base immediately for debriefing. Jack didn't respond. He looked at Saber and Silvertip. I won't betray you. Before they could retreat further, a military scout drone spotted them on the ledge. Lights flashed as it transmitted their location. Run, Jack shouted. They fled deeper into the tunnel network, but more drones appeared ahead, cutting off their escape. Soon, they were cornered in a small chamber with soldiers approaching from both directions. Surrender now, Dr. Winters, came Admiral Morrison's voice over a loudspeaker. The creatures will be contained for study. Jack knew what contained for study really meant. He stepped protectively in front of Saber. The first soldiers appeared, weapons raised. Step away from the Nyx, Doctor, one ordered. They're intelligent beings with culture and language, Jack argued. This is their home that we invaded. Admiral Morrison pushed through his men. Your sympathy for these predators is noted, Doctor. Unfortunately, the decision has already been made. The Nyx represent a threat to human expansion. Grant appeared beside Morrison. We tracked the main Nyx population center thanks to your helpful tracker, Winters. Operations to secure the area are already underway. Jack felt sick. He had inadvertently led them straight to the heart of Nyx territory. You can't do this, he said desperately. It's already done, Morrison replied coldly. Specialist Grant, secure the scientist. Take the specimens alive if possible. As soldiers moved forward, an explosion rocked the tunnel. Dust and rocks fell from the ceiling. Through the confusion, Jack heard familiar voices. "Jack, this way." It was Lisa. She appeared through a side passage with Commander Peters and 3 security officers from the outpost. "What are you doing here?" Jack asked in shock. "Saving you from court-martial," Peters replied gruffly, "and maybe stopping a massacre." Grant shouted for the soldiers to secure everyone, but in the chaos, Silvertip made her move. She launched herself at the ceiling of the chamber, her powerful claws dislodging key support stones. The tunnel began to collapse between them and Morrison's forces. "Go," Peters shouted, firing his weapon to provide cover. Jack grabbed Lisa's arm. "This way." As they fled through the tunnel with Saber and Silvertip leading, Jack heard Morrison's furious orders fading behind them. "The Admiral has ordered a full assault on all Nix territories," Peters explained as they ran. "We don't have much time." Jack and the others emerged from the tunnel network into a vast underground cavern. The space was filled with hundreds of Nix huntresses. Many were wounded, their dark scales stained with blue blood. The remaining Nix population had gathered in this final sanctuary. "They've been driven here from all the smaller settlements," Lisa explained, her face grim. Morrison's forces attacked everywhere simultaneously. Jack approached Silvertip, who stood with a council of elder huntresses. Their expressions were unmistakable even to human eyes. Fear mixed with determination. "How did you find us?" Jack asked Peters, who kept a wary eye on the cave entrance. "Lisa convinced me to review your research," Peters admitted. "The evidence was undeniable. These aren't mindless killers. They're a civilization. When Grant contacted the fleet, I knew what would happen." "So you defied orders," Jack said, surprised. Peters nodded. "Some things matter more than orders." Lisa stepped forward. "We brought others who believe in peaceful contact." She gestured to 5 scientists and 3 security officers who were setting up equipment near the cave wall. "Dr. Karen Nelson is our xenolinguist," Lisa explained, indicating a woman working with audio equipment. "She's been studying the recordings you made of Saber's speech patterns." Jack felt hope rise for the first time since seeing the military ships. "If we can establish formal communication, prove their intelligence to the Galactic Council." "We need to survive first," Peters interrupted. "Morrison has ordered bombardment of this entire region in 6 hours. Standard sterilization protocol for hostile species." One of the security officers called out, "Perimeter sensors are active. We'll have warning if they approach." The elder Nix approached Jack. One carried a clay tablet with markings similar to the warning symbol Jack had seen before. She pointed to it, then to the cave ceiling. "I think she's saying Morrison will attack from above," Jack interpreted. Saber made a series of clicks and gestured toward a narrow crevice in the cavern wall. Jack followed her and saw it opened into a smaller chamber containing strange crystalline formations that emitted a soft blue glow. "What are these?" he asked. Silvertip approached and touched one crystal. It pulsed brighter, and Jack felt a slight vibration in the rock around them. "Some kind of energy source," Lisa suggested, scanning with her equipment. "The readings are unlike anything in our database." Dr. Nelson joined them, excitement clear on her face despite the dire situation. "I've made progress with their language. Basic concepts are translating clearly now." She activated her device and spoke into it. The machine converted her words into Nix clicking sounds. "We help. Fight together." Silvertip responded with a series of clicks that the machine translated roughly. "Human weapons strong. Nix few now. But we have something they don't," Jack said, looking at the crystals. "Knowledge of this place and whatever energy these produce." Peters examined the cavern with a tactical eye. "If we combine our technology with their home advantage, we might stand a chance against the first wave." Over the next few hours, humans and Nix worked together. The scientists adapted their equipment to interface with the crystal energy, while the huntresses showed them hidden passages and natural defenses throughout the cave system. Jack worked closely with Saber, using Nelson's translation device to develop complex strategies. The more they communicated, the more fluid the translations became. Your kind and mine aren't so different, Jack told Saber as they finished setting a trap near one entrance. Saber's response translated, different bodies, same heart. Lisa approached with new information. The military is jamming all standard communications, but we modified our equipment to broadcast on emergency frequencies. We've sent proof of Nick's intelligence to 3 independent science stations. Will they receive it in time? Jack asked. Unknown, Lisa admitted, but the truth will get out eventually. A young huntress rushed in, communicating urgently with Silvertip. The translation device picked up fragments. Ships moving. Attack soon. Peters gathered everyone in the main cavern. Humans and Nick stood side by side. An alliance unprecedented in galactic history. They're coming, Peters announced. Ground forces will breach the lower tunnels while ships position for orbital strikes. Jack looked at the assembled group, scientists who had chosen truth over orders, security officers who had chosen justice over duty, and Nicks who had accepted humans as allies despite years of conflict. Whatever happens, Jack said, today we show the galaxy what's possible when we choose understanding over fear. Saber moved to stand beside him as the first distant explosions echoed through the caves. The final stand had begun. The first wave of soldiers breached the outer tunnels exactly as Peters had predicted. They moved in tight formation, weapons ready, expecting ambush. What they didn't expect was the strange blue glow that suddenly filled the passage. Energy spike, a soldier called out just before his equipment failed. The crystal energy, directed through devices the scientists had modified, disabled the military's advanced targeting systems without harming the soldiers themselves. In the confusion, Nex warriors emerged from hidden alcoves, disarming the soldiers with precise movements. Non-lethal takedowns only, Jack had insisted during planning, and the huntresses honored this despite generations of conflict. Meanwhile, Jack, Lisa, and Dr. Nelson worked frantically in the central cavern. They had repurposed the outpost's main communication array to broadcast everything happening in real time. The translation program is working, Nelson announced. We're sending clear evidence of Nick's language and intelligence. Jack nodded, watching the video feeds showing Nick's carefully subduing soldiers without killing them. Make sure that footage goes out too. Above them, Admiral Morrison's flagship positioned for bombardment. The massive vessel carried enough firepower to level the entire mountain range. Sir, we're picking up unusual broadcasts from the target zone, reported Morrison's communications officer. Ignore it, the Admiral ordered. Prepare main cannons. Sir, these broadcasts are being received by Galactic Council stations. They show the Nix acting defensively, not aggressively. Morrison slammed his fist on the console. I don't care what propaganda Winters is sending. Those creatures have killed thousands of our people. Weapon systems ready. Sir. Morrison hesitated for just a moment, then gave the order. Fire. In the caves below, Peter's equipment detected the weapons lock. They're firing. Everyone to the inner chamber. Humans and Nix rushed to the crystal chamber as the first blasts hit the mountain. The entire cave system shook violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling, narrowly missing those fleeing deeper inside. Once everyone was gathered in the crystal chamber, Silvertip and the elders positioned themselves around the largest formation. They began a harmonic clicking that made the crystals pulse in rhythm. What are they doing? Lisa asked. I think it's some kind of resonance, Jack replied, watching in fascination despite the dire situation. The crystal's blue light intensified until it was almost blinding. The entire mountain seemed to vibrate at a specific frequency. Above, on Morrison's flagship, alarms blared. Sir, our weapons are experiencing feedback. The energy is being reflected somehow. Morrison stared in disbelief as his own weapon signatures bounced back toward his fleet. Not powerful enough to cause damage, but enough to disrupt targeting systems. Impossible, he muttered. His communications officer interrupted. Sir, incoming transmission from the Galactic Council. They're ordering an immediate cessation of hostilities. On what grounds? Morrison demanded. First contact protocols, sir. They've classified the Nyx as a sentient species based on the broadcasts from the surface. Council representatives are en route. Morrison's face darkened with rage. Winters, he growled. In the crystal chamber, the bombardment had stopped. Jack checked the broadcasts and saw they were reaching even more stations than before. It's working, he told the others. People are seeing the truth. 3 hours later, Galactic Council ships arrived in orbit. Their representatives, protected by Council peacekeepers, entered the cave system under a formal truce. Jack and Saber stood together as the Council's lead diplomat approached. The tall, blue-skinned Arcturian looked between the human and the huntress with undisguised amazement. In 300 years of Council history, the diplomat said, we have never witnessed such an unlikely alliance. Using Dr. Nelson's translator, Jack and Saber explained the true history of human-Nyx relations, the misunderstandings, the territorial disputes, and the possibility of peaceful coexistence. Admiral Morrison was ordered to withdraw his fleet. Though he complied, his final words to Jack were ominous. This isn't over, Winters. But for now, at least, the crisis had passed. The Council established a protection zone around Nyx territory and organized formal diplomatic talks. 1 week later, Jack stood with Saber on a hilltop overlooking the valley. Council ships and human vessels shared the sky peacefully for the first time. What happens now? Lisa asked, joining them.